Love is the Cure. Journal entry written by Sarah Legend Adeno Fighter, dated Saturday, August 17th, 2024 to Saturday, September 28th, 2024, starting on page 25. Everything in life revolves around love. From the moment that a baby is conceived to the moment that someone's loved one is about to take their last breath of life. It is the circle of life. Without love, without the purest of opportunities to receive love and to give back that pure love in return, one misses out on the most simplest and most innocent and most unconditional foundational building blocks of life. Why is there so much selfishness and self-centered people in this world? Why is there so much hatred and evil in this world? Why are there so many wars raging on in this world? Why is there so much sickness and death in this world? Why are there so many tears of sadness and heartache in this world? Answer: it's because of lack of love. Page 26. The Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines this simple, innocent, and unconditional purest form of love in noun Section 1, subsection A1 as strong affection for another arising out of kinship or personal ties. Example, maternal love for a child. 17-ish years ago, I had attended a church for a few months while I lived with my mom for close to a year of us attending that church, from me being of the ages of 20 and 21 at that time. During that time period, we, aka also known as my mother and I, befriended a young lady who was 1 year younger than me. From the year 2007 until 2022, I had not seen that young lady again until she and her young daughter moved into my apartment building. She and I do not talk to each other much, nor do we interact with each other much due to her and I both having CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, due to a lifetime of physical, emotional, and sexual narcissistic abuse starting from when we were both infants/toddlers due to intergenerational trauma, aka intergenerational abuse. PsychologyToday.com website describes intergenerational trauma as: intergenerational trauma refers to the apparent transmission of trauma between generations of a family. People who experience adverse childhood experiences growing up, or who survived historical disasters or traumas, may pass the effects of those traumas onto their children or grandchildren through their genes. Due to this lady and I both having those similar traumatic abusive experiences, it has caused us to have CPTSD so extremely bad to the point that we find it extremely hard to trust others. Thus, we find it extremely hard to open up to others, to let others in, due to us finding it hard to trust others. Therefore, if I do open up and show my most kept secret vulnerabilities to someone, I do not do it lightly. Anyway, taking that starred tidbit into account, I find it extremely interesting that both this lady and I have been diagnosed with the same chronic physically debilitating uterus condition called adenomyosis. It is a well-known factor that our bodies store trauma, aka intergenerational trauma. Adenomyosis is a physical condition that affects the uterus, aka the womb. The womb is supposed to be a place that feels love, gives love, and creates love by embracing and creating and protecting new life within it. With all of the previous information listed, my theory is this: due to the fact that there is such a tremendous lack of love in this world, which has resulted in there being so many families and children that are directly or indirectly impacted and therefore are affected by intergenerational trauma, that is the cause of the storage space of love, aka the womb, aka the uterus, getting and developing adenomyosis in girls and young ladies, i.e., I developed it when I was a 14 years old child. Therefore, adenomyosis is the direct byproduct of lack of love. That is my theory. It would probably take a few decades, if not a couple of centuries, to rid the world of its problem of lack of love, and for people on this planet to embrace more love towards both themselves and towards each other. Despite that, I truly believe that love is the cure for adenomyosis. It will take years for humanity to fill in the cracks in this world with love to help both people and this planet to heal itself. However, I believe that once that has been attained, then adenomyosis and other chronic physical conditions/diseases can be healed. Again, this is just my theory. People can or could take away from my theory whatever information I have stated, and they could instead substitute their own knowledge of information that they know of in place of my info. Or, if they want to, people could just label me and call me a conspiracy theorist. It would not be the first time in my life that I have been called a conspiracy theorist. In the end, regardless, the world needs more love. I don't know if this gentleman will ever know it or not. Regardless, there is one gentleman that has inspired me to write this journal entry. Through him being the first man I have ever been with to show me compassion, kindness, empathy, gentleness, understanding, being slow to anger, i.e., not yelling at me or belittling me as if I were just some animal or doormat. Need to have self-love, i.e., not to be so hard on myself, aka self-critical. I love this man with all of my heart and body and soul. I would publicly declare my love and loyalty and dedication of lifelong service to this man without hesitation nor second thoughts if he asked me to. I love you, God, divine creator. Faithfully, yours truly, forever and always, Sarah L.
In today's video, I wanted to touch upon adenomyosis. Oftentimes, adenomyosis can be seen alongside endometriosis. It's as common as endo, but isn't talked about as often. So I wanted to provide a little bit of insight into adenomyosis today and to discuss the differences between the two. I also wanted to touch upon the symptoms of adenomyosis and discuss exactly what it is. So if that interests you, then please keep on watching. Before we jump into the video today, I wanted to do a disclaimer that I am not a medical practitioner or a doctor. I am a patient that lives with endometriosis, and I just wanted to pass along some information that I've received. But if you're experiencing any pain, always good to get it checked out by a doctor or medical practitioner in your country. So what exactly is adenomyosis? Adenomyosis is the presence of endometrial glands that are found within the inner layer of the uterus. Now, the uterus is made up of 3 separate layers. You first have the endometrium, which is the innermost layer of the uterus. Now, this layer often changes in thickness during your menstrual cycle. The second layer that is beside that endometrium is known as the myometrium, and that layer has smooth interlacing muscular fibers that create a larger, more dense part of the uterus. Beside the myometrium is the outermost layer known as the perimetrium, a smoother layer that surrounds the whole cavity of the uterus. When it comes to adenomyosis, what happens is that endometrium, that inner layer of the uterus, pockets of that gland or those tissues are often found within the muscular layer of the uterus, basically being in spots that they're not supposed to be. Every menstrual cycle that comes around, that trapped tissue within the muscular wall can cause internal swelling as well as increased amount of pain during your menstrual cycle. So you might be wondering, how do I know if I have adenomyosis? Here are some warning signs. The first being extremely painful menstrual cycles or periods. Your period should not be painful to the point where you're missing school or you're missing work or the things that you love to do. Oftentimes there's a pain threshold that is considered quote unquote normal for mild to moderate cramping that you feel with a menstrual cycle. With adenomyosis as well as endometriosis, that menstrual cycle pain is increased. It causes sharp pain, burning, stabbing, twisting feeling, a sensation of barbed wire around your abdomen or your pelvic region. These are sensations that should not be felt during your menstrual cycle and are a sign or symptom that should be investigated by your doctor. That increased amount of pain can also be felt outside of your menstrual cycle. So if you're feeling pain throughout the month, that's definitely a warning sign to bring to your doctor. The second warning sign of adenomyosis is heavy or prolonged bleeding during your menstrual cycle. Now, if you are noticing that you're soaking directly through your pad onto your pants after you change it in the day, or you're feeling like, wow, my period has lasted more than 7 or 8 days and it's still a heavy flow, this is something that needs to be investigated for a potential suspected adenomyosis diagnosis. If you're also noticing the passing of larger blood clots, that can also be a telltale sign of adenomyosis. The third warning sign of adenomyosis is pain during intercourse. Now, pain during this type of activity should always be pleasurable, but if you're feeling a bit of tension or tugging or a bit of pain during intercourse, that could be a potential sign of adenomyosis as well as endometriosis. Now, when it comes to adenomyosis, again, there is that internal swelling that happens within the muscular wall of the uterus, which can be causing that intense amount of pain during intercourse. Other symptoms of adenomyosis include dizziness during your menstrual cycle. Again, because you have those heavy and prolonged periods, it can lead to dizziness or feeling lightheaded. Also a feeling of fatigue, which is different than feeling tired. Fatigue is when you feel like you haven't had a good night's sleep even though you slept 8 hours, or you don't feel energized after having a bit of caffeine. You still feel sluggish and low and not finding that brain power to do the things that you want to do and love to do. Other symptoms of adenomyosis include abnormal bloating, so what we call in the endometriosis community endo belly. We can call it adeno belly or adenomyosis belly. Just a lot of bloating, even if you haven't had a large meal prior to that bloat. You would also have potential uterus enlargement or uterus being tender, digestion issues or changes, as well as changes with your bladder or bowel movements. So oftentimes there can be a larger amount of pressure on your bladder or rectum that can cause a slight change in movements. I do want to stress that similar to endometriosis, adenomyosis can cause chronic pelvic pain. So meaning that you might experience pain throughout your menstrual cycle as well as before and after it because of that enlarged uterus or tender uterus. In some cases, adenomyosis, similarly to endometriosis, may cause infertility with some individuals. This isn't to say that you won't be able to fall pregnant. I know some individuals with adenomyosis that were able to conceive and have healthy babies to term, but it just might be a warning sign that if you're having complications trying to conceive naturally with your partner, it might be something to take note of and to talk to your doctor about. As you can see, that list of warning signs and symptoms for adenomyosis is very similar to that of endometriosis. So again, it's really important to go see your doctor to investigate whether you have adenomyosis, endometriosis, or both combined. Again, any pain or changes or discomfort during menstrual cycles or outside of it could be something else like PCOS. So again, always good to investigate what's going on with your body. Some of the ways that adenomyosis can be diagnosed formally include transvaginal ultrasounds, MRI, regular pelvic exams, or tissue taken during surgery to run a biopsy. Now you might be wondering, can adenomyosis be cured? And the short answer is yes, it can be. But making that decision can be really tricky because it comes with a partial or full hysterectomy. Obviously, that's a major decision that someone needs to make for their own body, their own health, and their own well-being. So taking the time to really sit and dwell on that question is important for that individual to feel proud of the journey and the path that they walk for their body. It's really important to not feel pressured into making a decision that is as major as that. Definitely talk to your doctor about being connected to a therapist to maybe talk it through with a third party that's outside of your friend circle or your family circle. Unlike adenomyosis, where it's just contained within the uterus, endometriosis is when tissue that is similar to the lining of the uterus, known as the endometrium, grows outside of the uterus and is found throughout the body. Endometriosis tissue and lesions are not the same thing as the endometrium. I just really want to stress that because that's been seen in a lot of popular culture. It's totally different and it has its own histology and makeup. Endometriosis, like I've mentioned, is a full body disease. So it can be found on your lungs, within your pelvic region. It's been found on every visceral organ in the human body. Unlike adenomyosis, where it's just contained within the uterus, endometriosis is outside of the uterus. I think there are a lot of reasons why adenomyosis, endometriosis, and pelvic chronic conditions aren't talked about in popular culture, in society. I think one of the reasons is that there isn't a lot of research into these pelvic chronic conditions. I think there is a lot of room for growth, both within levels of government to provide funding, resources, and national campaigns to raise awareness, to investigate different options for pain management that aren't invasive, like surgeries. I think there is also room for improvement to find specialists within the country or to increase the amount of specialists within the country so that rural, remote, and northern community groups don't have to travel hours on hours to get to an urban center to get to the care they need. Second reason why I think these aren't talked about as often is that society isn't ready to talk about taboo topics. I think we're still in the mindset that if anything relates to a period or a menstrual cycle, then I don't want to touch it. I don't want to talk about it at the dinner table. I don't want to discuss it in health curriculum classes because individuals will laugh or think it's funny to talk about. When in reality, it's a symptom of a disease. It's not the full disease. It's not something that is just, oh, it's a painful period and that's it. There's so many nuances that come with these chronic conditions that need to be taken seriously, and there needs to be better education around it so that we have better awareness and support for those that may not even know the name to their pain yet. The third reason why I think these aren't talked about as often is, in all honesty, in Canada, there aren't a lot of specialists that come with these resources that can provide answers and support. In Canada, for endometriosis alone, there are less than 50 specialists. I think there's even less than 35 specialists for endometriosis that can provide that support and specialized care for those with endometriosis. I think it's even less for adenomyosis. So it's really important to get those specialists here and to create those educational funnels so that we have specialists that vocalize on these types of chronic pelvic conditions. So I hope this video has helped. If you were just diagnosed with adenomyosis or suspected adenomyosis, know that you are not alone. There are so many individuals that are with you on this journey and are here to support you. If you have just gone through your adenomyosis journey or you have adenomyosis and have lived with it for years now, feel free to pop in the comment box things that have helped you in your journey. I know that anything would help those that are just starting their journey, and it would help me to learn more about adenomyosis outside of my endometriosis journey. But anything you want to talk about, my DMs are always open, and I'm here both on YouTube and Instagram and would love to hear from you. With that, I'll talk to you on the next one.
Let's talk about endometriosis. What is endometriosis? Very simply, it's endometrial tissue outside the uterus. All right, well, what is endometrial tissue? Endometrial tissue is composed of partially glandular and partly connective tissue that also has immune properties. And this is why one of the biggest symptoms with endometriosis is chronic inflammation. Pain in the pelvis, pain internally. It also affects your menstrual cycle, causes infertility, painful intercourse, and the list goes on and on and on. Now, the big clue with endometriosis is this right here, part glandular tissue, which means that tissue is highly sensitive to hormones, primarily estrogen. And this is why women who have estrogen dominance have a higher risk of getting this condition. Now let's just kind of go through the potential causes of this problem, starting at the most obvious, something that you would expose that part of the body to on a routine basis. And I'm talking about a tampon. Well, you might say that can't be because I use natural cotton. Did you realize that 94% of all cotton grown in the US is GMO? And the type of GMOs that they're using in cotton are the Bt version, which basically makes the cotton an insecticide. So you can only imagine what can happen when you expose your body to something that acts as an insecticide. And this is number one. And of course, if you're female and you use tampons, I would recommend only using organic tampons. Now, if you're a guy, you might say, well, I don't have to worry about that. Well, did you realize that they feed GMO cotton to cattle? So these animals are consuming some of this cotton, and the byproducts of that could end up on your plate. Unless you do organic beef, grass-fed. If you're doing grass-fed, it doesn't necessarily mean it's not organic, because they may do grain finishing for 4 months after the grass-fed period of regular GMO grains. So you definitely want organic. And if possible, you want to do your meats grass-fed, grass-finished. Very important. The next most important thing to avoid would be dairy products. Why? Because dairy is meant to grow calves. And so milk is composed of a lot of growth hormones. And we already have a growth of an abnormal tissue. So we don't want to add more growth factors to your diet to potentially create a problem with this. So I would go dairy-free if you have this condition or if you're estrogen dominant. And one point I want to mention is that chemicals like insecticides, herbicides, pesticides, fungicides mimic estrogen in the body. And that's why GMO is a problem. And this is also why grain-fed animal products, grains are mostly GMO, like soy and corn, are fed to the animals. And if it's not organic, you're getting exposure to the herbicide called glyphosate. So the glyphosate is also going to go into the dairy, and it can have an effect on estrogen in the body. And then we get soy, Soy is also estrogenic, especially soy protein isolates, soy oils. So I would definitely avoid soy products. And then we go into GMO foods. The problem is trying to identify them at the grocery store because they don't have to label them as GMO. But if you do organic, you're safe. Then we get grains. Grains are highly inflammatory, not to mention usually they're GMO. But if you avoid gluten and all grains, your blood sugars will be better, your inflammation will get better. And then we get sugar. Now, a lot of the sugar used in the US is not from cane, it's from beet sugar, which is mostly GMO. So as you can see, we're being exposed to a lot of chemicals indirectly from things that you might not even connect to being a chemical. So this is what I would recommend. Go organic, 100%. I would also consume a natural vitamin C complex and a vitamin E complex, including the tocotrienols and the tocopherols. The reason is because there's some really interesting research on animals, not humans, but still the data shows an improvement in endometriosis using vitamin C and vitamin E below. So it potentially can help, especially with the inflammatory conditions and the effect that these antioxidants have to soak up some of the free radicals that's generated. Selenium is another key mineral to help as an antioxidant. It's also good as an anti-inflammatory. And then of course, omega-3 fatty acids are also really good to help reduce inflammation. Now there's one last point. There's an enzyme in the body called aromatase, which converts testosterone into estrogen. And this can happen in men and women. And so some of your estrogen, which is creating the dominant situation, could be coming from testosterone. And so one good alternative to that would be to take an aromatase inhibitor. And stinging nettle root is one of the best ones. So if you were to take this as a supplement, it probably would help you. All right, so that's my summary and my recommendations for endometriosis.
On the date of Wednesday, August 13th, 2025, at timestamp 8 minutes after 4 in the evening, I sent a text message to my longtime soul sister, who I met around 19 to 20 years ago through attendance at the same church that my mom and I used to attend. And the reason I messaged her is because she also has a diagnosis of adenomyosis. So the conversation continues as follows. Hi Rosa, how are you doing? Timestamp 9 minutes after 5. I'm well, thanks. How are you? 6:15 p.m. on Wednesday, August 13th. I'm doing swell, or as swell as can be considering the joys of when ant flow comes for adenomyosis. My YouTube channel started out 3 years ago as a song covers channel for my singing, but when I got my official diagnosis of adenomyosis last year, after 24 years of struggling with the pains, symptoms of it, that's when I decided to merge my channel to make vlogs to try to raise more awareness about adenomyosis, which will hopefully in turn help to bring about more natural ways of healing it. What would you say is the biggest annoyance or the biggest struggle for you with dealing with adenomyosis? She replied back at timestamp 3 minutes after 8 in the evening of Wednesday, August 13th, and this of course was after I had had a brief nap period. Rosa's reply to me was, I no longer struggle with it like I once did, thank the Lord, but I would say the painful bloating for sure. Have you tried castor oil packs? Col oral, I apologize if I'm not pronouncing these words properly. Anyways, at 4 minutes after 8 p.m. she says, coral helps me significantly as well. It's high in antioxidants and decreases inflammation, as well as turmeric, and that was sent at 5 minutes after 8 p.m. Ginger can also aid with pain relief, and that was sent at 6 minutes after 8 p.m. I like to juice, cutting out starches, sugars, and limiting dairy can make a world of difference as well, and that was sent at 7 minutes after 8 in the evening of Wednesday, August 13th, 2025. I replied back with, did you ever used to deal with the swollen adenomyosis uterus pushing on your bladder? Rosa's reply at timestamp 7 minutes after 8 in the evening of August 13th is, yep, had to pee like a pregnant woman. Always had pressure. I replied back with, same here, girlfriend. At timestamp 10 after 8 on August 13th, Rosa replied back, stating, much of the pain and many of our ailments can be managed better with lifestyle changes. If I still drank, I would be dying in pain. I noticed if I drank, especially before my period, it would be one heck of a cycle. Have you tried any of the above natural approaches? And she sent that at timestamp 11 minutes after 8 p.m. Castor oil packs was a game changer for me. It even lessened my heavy bleeding. I responded with, I haven't tried that pain management yet. What have you found? Sorry, typo here, I said find. What have you found helps to alleviate the symptom of the pregnant bladder? Rosa replied at 8:46 p.m. You need to reduce the inflammation. All that I suggested above works for both pain and inflammation. Pain is nothing but an inflammatory response our body makes. Once we reduce the culprit of inflammation, the pain oftentimes resolves. Sugar, starch, and alcohol are a big no-no. I pay for every piece of pizza or chip I eat, and screw alcohol. I don't have time to suffer for days on end after drinking. Everything literally begins in the gut. When we heal our gut and we manage our body's alkalinity, the body heals. Toxic environment breeds inflammation, which then causes elements. Doing a yeast heavy metal detox and parasite cleanse will work wonders. At timestamp, I think it says approximately 8:58 p.m. Sorry, don't quote me on that right now. I'm having to squint again to try to read the timestamp as I make this video from my cell phone. Anyways, Rosa continues by stating, it 100% can be managed through strict diet and lifestyle changes. I was bedridden and couldn't even care for my kids at one point. I was in a wheelchair, was on steroids and cancer treatments, diagnosed with MS and fibroid, on top of a million other things. At timestamp 8:56 p.m. on Wednesday, August 13th, Rosa stated, along with faith, God brought the healing, but it takes discipline as well. I am on disability too, hun. It's not easy, but small lifestyle changes make the world of difference. I knew if I continued to destroy my body, it was foolish for me to even think God would show mercy and bring healing. We have to help our body along. Alkaline water can be made with baking soda, a pinch of Celtic salts, help restore minerals and electrolytes. Beautiful prayer from your mom. Hello, people. Time is, I think, going on around 7 o'clock in the evening of Wednesday, August 13th, 2025. So I just woke up from a nap. In case people can't tell from how I look right now, I just woke up from a nap. Cycle day 25. I just started spotting this morning, so my period tracker is saying that my period is due to start by tomorrow. So I guess we'll see, but since I started spotting today, I figured I might as well. I haven't made a vlog in a while on these adenomyosis periods or symptoms, so I figure might as well try to start making a vlog today, since there's no time better than the present moment when you start spotting to make a vlog about adenomyosis. And as is usual with hacks that I have come to learn help me out with dealing with adenomyosis, since adenomyosis causes the uterus to be swollen from the endometrium tissue growing into the muscular wall lining of the uterus, which causes a bunch of bowel and bladder problems with the uterus pushing on my bladder, causing me to have constant chronic pelvic pain. One of my hacks or cheats, I guess, that I do so I don't ever have to deal again with bloody murder scenes of my reusable washable underwears and pants getting soaked in blood is I use the hack of using disposable period underwears. But if you're a biological woman and you can't find disposable period underwears in the pharmacy area of stores, another substitute to disposable period underwears, such as disposable period underwears being made by the brand being made by the Always brand. Another hack you can use if you can't find disposable period underwears is women's disposable incontinence underwears, they work the exact same way as disposable period underwears. So I use those twofold. One for when I'm on my periods with adenomyosis, because my periods can get pretty extremely heavy sometimes, like murder scene heavy, to the point where I'm just bleeding uncontrollably. And then I also use them because of the fact that, again, as mentioned earlier in this video clip, my swollen uterus pushing on my bladder. It has caused me to at sometimes deal with leakage from stress urinary incontinence. Yes, embarrassing, I know, but unfortunately it's a common symptom that a lot of women that are dealing with this uterus disease of adenomyosis suffer with. So whatever. Anyways, I'm gonna try and get up so I don't waste my whole day away napping in bed, and I'll check in later. Side note, here, as people can see, is a screenshot from a Facebook support group for biological women that are diagnosed patients suffering with adenomyosis. And as you can see at the top, it states that the subject content that ladies are talking about here, because I did a search for subject content, is incontinence underwears. So as you can see, point blankly, lots of women suffering with this uterus disease turn to using incontinence underwear. For example, first post here, a lady states, "I bought the disposable period panties to wear to sleep in. Because I'm a heavy bleeder, I usually have trouble sleeping because of it. Best thing I ever bought. They might look like a diaper, but so comfortable, and holds up to 5 thin pads worth of blood. Also no leaking, and I slept good without worrying about making a mess in my bed." Another lady here, dated June 24th, states, "After years of wondering what could trigger my urgency and incontinence, I think I may have an idea. I was diagnosed with adenomyosis a few years ago." There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Yo, what's up, people? It's like 8:53 in the evening of Thursday, August 14th. Yeah, so I know I haven't done an update since yesterday afternoon after I woke up from a nap. That's because I was busy chilling and hanging out and toking with my neighbors last night. Yeah, it helps to it doesn't get rid of the pain, it just makes my body care less about the pain from the adenomyosis, yo. Adenomyosis. Some people that mispronounce it pronounce it as adenomyosis, but it's actually pronounced adenomyosis. Adenomyosis, y'all. Okay, there we go. That's more of the southern country accent there. Yeah, so anyways, then I went to bed at like a half decent hour. I came back home at like 11. Funny enough, my angel number based on my birth date. And then I did some research until like 1. I went to bed at 1. And I slept until 7 or 8. I got at least freaking between 7 to 8 hours of sleep. So And then I got up. I had to go to a appointment with my allergist today. Because ever since my childhood years, I've always had problems with my nasal passages, so that's another bonus on my list. I believe that health problem, was in direct relation to all of the regular scheduled childhood vaccines that everybody was so adamant about getting back in those days, before more people started doing their own research and waking up to the bullshit about what's really behind autism, vaccine injury, people. So anyways, yeah. And then got back home, cooked myself some supper, and then I went down to the hospital ER to visit with my mom for a bit, because yeah, she ain't doing good at all. Oh lordy. She's having her mental and her physical health problems decline, and that girl, she's one of the most hardcore, downright holy, thou art born again Christian ladies that I know of, and I've been a born again Christian believer basically my whole entire life, since I knew about the story of our Savior coming to the earth to stand up in our place instead of where we should have been standing. You know what I mean? Like, that is the most ultimate sacrifice right there for somebody that you love, yo. So anyways, ever since I was old enough to comprehend how much of an act of sacrifice, like how much love that act of sacrifice professes, that's when I became a believer. Back when I was 3. Anyways, yeah, that's how long I've been able to comprehend how magnificent the history is. So, by the way, that's why they call the word history. It's H-I-S, his story, yols. So, anyways, and that's coming from my perspective of Christ consciousness for somebody that's diving into spirituality, okay? So, I'm still keeping my heart aligned with what I've been taught about God in the Bible, okay, folks? So, anyways, that's how spirituality works. Anyways, so, and then I came back home here. But yeah, we've definitely begun a new cycle. We are on day 2, because apparently, I believe it is a rule that if you're a biological woman and your cycle actually starts, like, and when we say start, we mean more than just spotting. If you actually start needing to use a pad, and it's like after 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, then yes, you technically have to mark your full first day of your cycle, your period, as having started the next day if it's after 6 o'clock p.m. I will have to verify, and then I'll try to remember to post a clip with the correct. I'm pretty sure it has to do with Eastern Standard Time, though. I could be wrong on that, I don't know, but any of those. Yeah, so anyways, I'm just chilling for a bit. Had like half a joint to smoke to help me forget less about the pelvic pain and bloating and pressure from the bloating. Oh, yowzers, it's awesome when it feels like your insides want to just come falling out. Just come ripping out of you, eh? Ah ha ha. And then you get the blood to go along with it. That's like a bonus. Oh, yowzers. Anyways, so I'm just listening to some chilled tunes right now before I jump in the shower. Then we might give an update later before I go to sleep. But yeah, we're definitely in day 2 of the cycle though, okay peeps? Alright, awesome. Peace out. Hello, everyone. Timestamp is 8:14 p.m. in the evening of Friday, August 15th, 2025. Sorry I haven't been on here since yesterday to give an update. I've been busy. Anyways, rundown of my symptoms today with being on cycle day 3. It's been bleeding like, it's been one of those cycle days of me bleeding like a murder scene today. Got out of the shower, and by the time I got from the shower to my bedroom to get dressed, there's already a murder scene of blood happening, a trail of blood happening. Yeah, that's how gruesome it can get. Just like a faucet turned on and somebody forgot to turn it off, and the cramps to go alongside of it. Yay. Sarcasm there, in case people can't tell. Anyways, I will give a update again at some point tomorrow, but right now what I really need to do is I need to step outside, I believe, and water my cannabis plants. I have two cannabis plants growing outside on my balcony. Their names are Ruth and Hannah from the Bible. So, yep, and I do believe they need watering because I checked the soil yesterday. They were pretty dry. So, anyways, folks. Yep, I will let everybody go for now. And I'll give an update a little bit later. So far, my pain has been pretty manageable with me just staying on top of taking ibuprofen as needed, and maybe smoking a little bit of cannabis here or there. Last time I smoked cannabis was last night, right before bed. Before going to bed I went to bed at like around 11, between 11 and 11:30. So as long as I stay on top of managing the pain, we're all good. We're all good. Okay? So peace out for now, folks. Well, folks, I just wanted to show people how bloated my stomach can get during this time of the month, to the point where it literally looks like I'm pregnant. Usually, when I'm not having a flare-up with my adenomyosis symptoms, or not bleeding, obviously, my stomach is a lot flatter, and I can incorporate some recent pictures that I've taken for comparison. But yep, not feeling good at all right now with it, so I just took an ibuprofen for the pain, and I feel a migraine coming on, and then I'm gonna be drinking a restful sleep aid herbal tea and then going to bed. So good night, folks.
Put on the garments of praise, for the Spirit
Saturday, August 16th, 2025, at timestamp 9:50, I sent a text diary to my next door neighbor, who is also my kindred spirit sister, named Jillian, and I stated the following in my text diary journal to her for the symptoms of my adenomyosis flare-up at this time, and the following is as stated. Good morning, Jillian. How was your night? My night wasn't good. I fell asleep before 10 p.m., then was up at 11:45 p.m. due to a migraine headache thanks to my period. And of course, as is also typical from the adenomyosis and it being period time of the month for me right now, the bloating and bladder pregnancy symptoms, as our sister Rosa on the 4th floor describes the bladder symptoms from her also having adenomyosis, had me up to the bathroom almost every hour until like 6ish this morning. So I did try to sleep as much as the word here should say possible. Sorry for the grammar error, it says positive though. Anyways, I digress. So I did try to sleep as much as possible in between visits to the bathroom. I was able to get some better sleep from 6 a.m. onwards to just before I woke up, which is when I messaged you. I can completely understand why Rosa says that at one point in her life she was bedridden from how severe the pains and symptoms from adenomyosis can get. It breaks my heart for her that her CPTSD is, I don't know why I accidentally misspelt the word was in there. Anyways, I digress. It breaks my heart for her that her CPTSD complex post-traumatic stress disorder is worse than mine, due to her having been raised in a family of Freemasons that trafficked her out into the modeling industry from when she was a child to just before my mom and I met her 19 to 20 years ago, when she used to attend the same church as my mom and I. Therefore, at some point, if Divine Creator ever allows it, I would like for you and Rosa to have a chance to meet each other, but I know that due to the trauma that she's gone through from the Freemasons, that will take time. And this was sent at timestamp of 7 minutes after 10 in the morning on Saturday 16th, 2025.
Oh, pull me under.
Hello peeps, timestamp is 10:44 in the evening of Wednesday, August 20th, 2025. I don't know if people can make that out there on the watch or not. See, 10:44 p.m. in the evening of Wednesday, August 20th, 2025. Oh, now it's just changed time. Anyways, yeah, so to give an update, a vlog update on my symptoms, because I obviously haven't given an update since Saturday, I think. Yeah, since Saturday, August 18th. I've been busy, peeps, that's why. So let's see, Sunday I went to my church. They were having a family-friendly wholesome fun day community event. It was awesome. There was lots of different diverse people there at the event, so it was awesome. And there was free food as well, so yes, peace to the free food. And then what did I do Monday? Monday, I don't think I did much on Monday. I think I was resting on Monday because after the family fun day at church on Sunday. Oh, my one giraffe is here. I bought this thing like a couple years ago. I don't even remember what I named this giraffe, but anywho's. And my giraffe has purple hair because purple's my favorite color. But anyways, so I think Monday I was resting mostly of the day after I was finished after I finished on Sunday evening making a video to help a video on my YouTube channel to help promote the faith-based building for the community charity work that they do to try to help out, to try to reach people that are atheists that don't know about there being divine creator. So anywho, yeah, so because I was busy doing that on Sunday, I was resting Monday. Anyway, so my symptoms on Sunday was not bad bleeding wise. It was like light. Yeah, it was like medium to light flow on Sunday. The bloating though, it's always usually the bloating and the bladder symptoms that feel like you're dealing with a pregnancy bladder all the time. That's the biggest annoyance. So yeah, that was the biggest annoyance for me to deal with on Sunday, but I got by it. I was able to get by with, you know, using the pain management that I've been using for the last few years. I just got this diagnosis, mind you, of adenomyosis last year. So even though I've been dealing with it for 24 years, I never had a concrete diagnosis of this uterus disease until last year, and I got diagnosed with it, funny enough, on Monday, April 1st of 2024. That was Easter Monday last year. So this is the reason why I'm still currently in my healing journey to try and heal adenomyosis, because it was only just last year that I got the diagnosis of it. I'm sure, as you'll see in the vlog, I added a testimony from another sister of mine named Rosa, who has been able to heal hers. I'm not sure how many years in advance though she had hers before she was able to heal it. I can imagine though that most women, until you actually receive a concrete diagnosis of what the root cause is of your element, it's hard to know what concrete steps to take to heal it if you don't have an answer in place first. And funny enough, speaking of concrete steps, I have a stone that I always keep, an inspirational art stone that was given to me 2 years ago at Christmas time, that I always keep on top of my Bible, on top of God's Word, and it says, and I just say God's Word because I align with Christ consciousness. Obviously, if you're of a different faith, then divine creator for you will be, you know, whatever faith you align with, but I align with Christ consciousness, so this is the stone I always keep on top of my Bible. I don't know if people can make out what it says or not. There you go. It says one step at a time. Right? So, anyways. progressing from Sunday onwards to today. Yeah, my symptoms have basically kind of been, my period symptoms have kind of basically been like resolving between Monday and onwards. So, yep, I got maybe about a week or a week and a half at most that I'll have maybe some good majority wise of manageable pain symptoms before the pain starts flaring back up again. It's usually always the worst times of every month for me. And by the way, I apologize for my hair looking like this. I don't know if people can tell, but I just got out of the shower on my PJs. But anyways, yeah, the worst times of every cycle for me with this uterus disease is always usually between from like ovulation time of the month. And by the way, ovulation time of the month, the symptoms for that can be just as painful and excruciating as when I get my period. But yeah, it's always from ovulation time of the month onwards to like just a day or two after my period stops, like when the spotting and the bleeding actually stops. So anyways, that's my update for finishing off the vlog. So I guess we'll see come around next month, if I end up making a vlog next month, how my symptoms progress. But anywho's, I hope everybody has a good night or a good morning or day wherever you are watching this from, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.